Hello and welcome to a very special seasonal Radio Times podcast, as you can see from the hats and jumpers on display. As you can see, I've also made the effort. Those of you listening to this podcast won't be able to see any of that. This week we are doing our Christmas TV preview. We'll also, if you listen and watch to the very end, be telling you some of the best films that are on TV this Christmas too. I'm joined for the first section by Eleanor Bligh-Griffiths and Susanna Lazarus, who are going to talk us through some of the top picks to watch this Christmas on TV. Susanna, what should people watch?
My favourite thing I've watched so far is actually Judi Dench on trees.
What's she doing on
I know
trees?
That sounds bizarre. The programme is called My Passion for Trees. If you didn't already know, Judi Dench really loves trees.
Obviously, everyone already knows.
And so she has a woodland in the back of her garden. No, in the back of the garden in the back of her house, where she's planted a tree for every kind of loved one or family member or friend who has died. And so she kind of takes you through this woodland, points out different trees who stand for different people, including her late husband. But that's kind of just one section of the programme. The other section is her actually digging into the science of trees. She meets with a few experts. And I've never seen anyone get so excited, really about anything but trees. The joy on her face. She's the perfect kind of person to kind of live this through, because her passion for it is kind of, I don't know. Yeah, she's so excited. And you learn stuff as well along the way. You learn that trees communicate with each other. Who knew?
Do they?
How? Yes.
They talk?
They kind of emit signals to each other. I don't want to spoil it.
No, okay. No, not too many spoilers, but Judi Dench's Passion for Trees, when's that on?
That is on the 20th of December, so it's early.
Get in early, start your Christmas early.
8 p.m. on BBC One. So yeah, you can start feeling festive by watching Judi Dench get very excited about trees.
I'd love to be in the meeting where they pitched that one.
Yeah.
Like, no, really. Judi Dench loves trees.
Yeah, that's what I mean. It has to be watched to really be appreciated, because it sounds mental, but it's really good.
What are you recommending from our list, Eleanor?
I'm really excited about The Miniaturist. I really love the novel by Jessie Burton, and this is kind of a really faithful adaptation with only kind of a few changes. And it's just like, it's set in 17th century Amsterdam, and it's about this girl who comes into the city and she's married into this family, but not everything is as it seems. And it's kind of like a sort of a thriller, but period. And it's just kind of a really unique series. And then also just looks gorgeous, because it's a lot of the story is based around this doll's house. The miniaturist creates things for the doll's house. And it just looks so good. So I just think it's going to go down really well at Christmas.
And when's that on?
That starts on Boxing Day at 9 p.m. And then, so that's a 90-minute first episode. And then the second episode is the following day, and that's an hour.
Okay.
Sort of perfect Boxing Day fodder.
Yeah.
Just looks nice, really nice.
It's so good. And all the little miniatures, the little doll's house things are so cute and perfect.
Actually, that's nice, because it's sandwiched with Little Women. So the BBC, as well as the Miniaturist,
Another miniature thing.
Another miniature.
Miniature Christmas.
Little Women.
Miniature Christmas.
So the BBC have made a 3-parter of Little Women. And if you tune in at 8 p.m. on Boxing Day, you can watch Little Women. And at 9 p.m. you can watch
So a full
period drama
2.5 hours of
sort of
period drama, small period drama.
Small, dinky period
That's
drama.
nice. That's nice.
And interesting about Little Women, so it's got Angela Lansbury in it.
Yeah.
Who did an interview with Radio Times recently. Quotes were very explosive, went around the world. It's also got Michael Gambon and Emily Watson. And interestingly, daughter of Uma Thurman and Ethan Hawke is playing Jo. She's called Maya Hawke. I think this is one of her first roles.
So it's not a little cast, is it?
Do you think it will live up to the classic movie?
So I love the movie. I think it's 1994 movie, Susan Sarandon and Winona Ryder. So for me, it's got lofty heights to meet. But it has been written by Heidi Thomas, who creates Call the Midwife. So it's got solid credentials.
That's good credentials. And also, well, we have Call the Midwife.
Yeah.
Yeah, big Heidi Thomas Christmas. And the Call the Midwife Christmas special is very, very snowy, because we've hit the big freeze of 1962 to 3. So that's an excuse to just cover everything with snow.
Last year they were in South Africa, weren't they?
Yeah, so it's a very different feel
very
this year.
Very different feel.
And it's real kind of classic stuff. We've got Anita Dobson guest starring, and she is amazing. And her storyline kind of really doesn't go where you would expect it to go.
Right.
She's kind of a frail woman, old woman who kind of loses her husband, but then it turns out there's a lot more going on, and the midwives kind of help unravel her family history and put it back together again.
Is that's on Christmas Day as usual?
That is on Christmas Day at 7:40.
7:40 BBC One.
So classic family viewing.
Fun Christmassy fact, I was once in pantomime with Anita Dobson
Were
at
you?
Christmas. So
That's pretty cool.
that was pretty cool.
I mean,
Thought I'd just drop that in there.
that's Angie from EastEnders, the woman who sang the EastEnders theme tune.
I'm guessing you outshone her on stage.
Absolutely. No, she was the Wicked Witch of the West.
And what did you do?
I was a munchkin. Less cool,
Nice.
an old fat man munchkin.
Yeah, you probably should
boy.
have stopped before you went into the full details. So there's plenty of period drama, isn't there? We've also got Victoria.
Yeah, Victoria looks like it's going to be, well, it's their first ever Christmas special, and they've really made it another nice snowy drama. And this is a 2-hour special on Christmas Day at 9 o'clock. And we're going to see a lot about Prince Albert and the traditions he kind of brings over, the sort of more dramatic Christmas traditions that he introduces.
So sort of the genesis of the traditional Christmas that we know now.
Yeah, and it's going to look good. It's going to be all of the
Yeah.
Christmas trees and the candles everywhere and tobogganing and ice skating and stuff. But it looks from the trailer like this is going to be, there's going to be some real disasters going on. And one of them we see Victoria racing across the ice, and there's a hole in the ice, and she's bending down and throwing herself down and reaching into the ice, and she's crying and pounding the.
It's got to be some jeopardy.
It's got to be some
Gotta be
jeopardy.
drama at Christmas, isn't there? EastEnders has taught us that.
Yeah, and we do know that Prince Albert was a keen ice skater, so who
Da, da,
knows
da.
what's going to happen there. But plenty more drama. There's going to be more drama between Ernest and Harriet. Obviously, Ernest secretly suffering from syphilis, but will he and Harriet ever get together? And then there's some below stairs drama as well. But interesting also, they've chosen this episode as the time to bring in Victoria's goddaughter, who was a West African descendant from royalty, who was enslaved at the age of 5 and then eventually kind of essentially sold and gifted to Victoria, who freed her and made her a goddaughter and had her raised in a middle-class way. So this is going to be a really interesting story that they've really chosen to highlight.
So not exactly, because from the surface this sounds very Downton Abbey-like, but maybe that gives it kind of an extra string to its bow.
Yeah, perhaps so. I mean, there's classic Downton Abbey fare, below the stairs.
Bit of Downton
Christmas.
Abbey.
I'm sure they
Wouldn't
want
go
a bit
amiss,
of
would
Downton
it,
Abbey
on
magic.
Christmas
Yeah.
Day?
But yeah, some interesting stuff going on as well.
So that's ITV 9 o'clock. That's their big evening Christmas Day showing. So we've got Eric, Ernie and Me.
Yeah, this is a BBC4 drama, which has had some very good reviews. It follows, so it's Eric, Ernie and Me is the title, and the me in question is a man called Eddie Braben, who is the genius behind Eric and Ernie as we know them, brought the kind of masterminded their greatest hits and made them into the national treasures we know them as. Eddie Braben is played by Stephen Tompkinson, and he's brilliant. And you've got Mark Bonner playing Eric Morecambe, and you might think Mark Bonner doesn't look much like Eric Morecambe,
No,
but
he doesn't.
he's brilliant in this. So I think this is a kind of bit of a hidden gem, sort of snuck away on BBC4, but it's airing on the 29th of December at 9 p.m.
Right. So
and comes highly recommended.
good. And we've got a couple of children's sort of family children's programs.
What would Christmas be without
Well,
a
it's-
David Walliams
and
adaptation?
It's meant to be for kids as well, isn't it? Really.
So Grandpa's Great Escape is the
Yeah.
4th Walliams book that's been adapted for TV. We've had the likes of Mr. Stink and Billionaire Boy. This is really lovely. The plot of it follows Grandpa, who's played by Tom Courtenay, and Grandpa...
Is he involved in a great escape of
Oh,
sorts?
funny that. Don't know how you
Oh
guessed.
boy.
But Grandpa is suffering from Alzheimer's, and he ends up in a home called Twilight Towers. Twilight Towers is a mysterious, not very nice place, but it's run by Jennifer Saunders' character, Miss Dandy, and Miss Dandy is a kind of delicious villain. Jennifer Saunders obviously shines, she's brilliant. And Grandpa has a very close relationship with his grandson, and the two of them plot a great escape.
Great Escape.
It's really lovely, actually. Very sweet relationship between Grandpa and his grandson.
That's a
Jack.
BBC one, is it?
That is BBC One, and that's actually, you've got to wait until New Year's Day to see that. That is on at 6:55 p.m. on BBC One.
6:55.
But that's not the only David Walliams this Christmas. There's a
Oh,
double
Really?
dose.
Oh,
yeah.
no.
So if you tune into Sky One on the 24th of December, you'll come across Ratburger, which
Christmas
is another
Eve,
book.
as we often call it.
Oh, Christmas Eve. You could also call it Christmas Eve. And
It's
that's
up to you,
airing
folks.
at 6 p.m. on Sky One. And Ratburger, again, so David Walliams stars in both of these. In this one, he plays a burger man who...
Does he sell rats in the
He
burgers?
wants to sell Ratburgers. I don't know how you're guessing this.
I know. I'm getting good at this.
But yes, I mean, David Walliams has a great imagination, and just the plot of both of these are kind of bonkers but really fun. And Grandpa's Great Escape, I just really loved. I feel like it's a really sweet piece of TV. I'm sure families will love it.
And children just love David Walliams.
Absolutely,
but
they
absolutely
flock to it.
huge hits. Great. Well, thank you very much.
Thanks.
I'm now joined by Paul Jones and Hugh Fullerton, who are both in festive attire as well, and I'm still not, to talk about more of the Christmas highlights on TV in 2017. So, Hugh, what are you going to be watching this Christmas on the TV? / what do you recommend?
Well, the big one for me is going to be Doctor Who. It's massive episode.
What's that?
But Doctor Who, it's this little sci-fi show the BBC's been pushing under the radar for a while now. It's very cool, very hip. Basically, yeah, it's a massive episode. It's Peter Capaldi's last episode, Stephen Moffat, who's been running the series since about 2010, his last episode, Pearl Mackie's last episode, Mark Gatiss' last episode, and it's the first time we see Jodie Whittaker, the first female
episode.
The first episode for her. So it's a lot of ends and one very exciting beginning. First female Doctor. It's going to be really great. Really
good.
exciting.
When's that one on?
That is on Christmas Day. Clue is in the Christmas special thing. Although not all Christmas specials are on Christmas Day, I suppose.
No,
Doctor
there's
Who
just
is.
not room.
Not at all.
Yeah.
Imagine.
Not enough hours.
No.
It's at 5:30 p.m.
Literally.
on Christmas Day, which is a pretty good time for Doctor Who. I think it's been on a bit later in recent years, but I think 5:30 is quite a nice time for it.
It's the traditional tea time slot, isn't
Yeah,
it?
exactly. Yeah,
I think it'll be a cracker.
I think it'll be a Christmas cracker.
A Christmas cracker. I like it. So Doctor Who, we think it's one of the, with all that going on, it's got to be one of the best ones for a long time.
I mean, it's
isn't it?
got to be pretty momentous. There's also, we didn't mention David Bradley's in it as the first Doctor, who was played by William Hartnell back in the 1960s when the series started. Obviously, Hartnell died quite a while ago in the 1970s, so they've got David Bradley to kind of reprise the role.
And he's brilliant, isn't he? I mean,
Yeah.
he's not quite channeling Hartnell. He's bringing something of himself to it as well. But he does a good Hartnell, and it starts off. We've seen the trailer already, going from the original Hartnell speech from the 10th Planet, that classic episode, and then morphing into David Bradley, and it's pretty seamlessly done. And he's really good. And
Yeah, definitely.
the interaction between him and Peter Capaldi is great as well, isn't it?
Yeah, it looks really funny from what we've seen so far.
Yeah.
Now there's something here called McMafia.
Yes.
It's on the television. Hugh, I believe you've been on set for that.
I have been on set for that. Sadly, it's filmed in all over the world, in Israel and Croatia and all these places, and I went to Watford. I think it's filmed in about 9 different countries, and I ended up with the bloody one in London. It's quite a fancy one. It's a lot of money's been spent on this, a few million quid per episode, I think. It's got it's co-production with America, with AMC, who made The Night Manager.
I was just going to say with America.
With America.
Yeah. I've heard of them.
Everyone's
They're
chipping
good.
in.
They're good on TV.
They're throwing
aren't
them
they?
in, yeah. No, it's the same sort of team that made The Night Manager with Tom Hiddleston
Right.
a couple of years ago now.
Okay, so the same sort of production values, glossy.
Yeah, glossy,
hitting.
crimey.
Right.
James Norton plays the son of some mafia types who were exiled from Russia, and basically he kind of starts to get mixed up in their crimey world.
Right.
Again.
McMafia, strange title. Why is it called that? Is it
It's
Scottish?
No, it's to do with the commercialisation of organised
what?
crime. The commercialisation.
Ah, I see.
So
Right, so the franchise opportunity in organised crime.
apparently it's based on a book by Misha Glenny, which is about this same subject. And apparently it's from a chat he had with someone who told him that the Chechen mafia rent out their name. So you get to say, we're the Chechen mafia, but you have to pay them like license fee, basically, to use that name. But you also have to promise to be really horrible and brutal.
Oh my God.
So you don't like bring down the standards. So it's like a franchise,
like
basically.
A franchise.
Wow, classic franchise
So,
model, yeah.
When's McMafia on the television screen?
It starts on New Year's Day at 9 p.m. on BBC One, and then it's on again the day after, 2nd of January, fact fans, at 9 p.m. also on BBC
2 days
One.
in a row. What a
2 days
treat.
in a row, yeah. What a treat. And when it's weekly, I think there's about 8 episodes. There's
It's an
6 weeks after
ongoing,
that,
it's an ongoing affair after that, but it does start around the festive period, so we can call it a Christmas show for the purposes.
Yes.
It's in the Radio Times Christmas magazine. Like, what more do you want?
Alan Partridge.
Alan Partridge.
Why, when, where, how, and whom?
I'm glad you did that because I couldn't remember the order of those words. But yeah, Alan's back on the Beeb. This is very exciting. On 27th of December, or as I think he would probably call it, Boxing Day.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah.
And it's a kind of retrospective of his amazing 25-year broadcasting career, and that includes some behind-the-scenes stuff with Steve Coogan, who I'm going to shock people here, but Alan Partridge is not a real person.
What?
He's played by an actor. So
Scurrilous
Steve Coogan,
lies.
who plays
Fake
him,
news.
I know. He's been talking about him. Armando Iannucci, who co-created Partridge. And then the Gibbons brothers, who have kind of brought him into the 21st century.
Right? This isn't a new episode of Alan Partridge.
It's not, unfortunately, a new episode of Alan Partridge.
About the character in 25 years.
I think we are promised some never before seen footage from some of the older stuff. So
which would be nice.
Which would be nice, yeah.
And of course, this all comes ahead of the BBC have brought back Partridge. He's coming back to the BBC in 2018 with a series, which. Isn't a documentary, which will be a new series. So that's kind of one of the reasons they're doing it. It's an anniversary, but also it's a sort of, we brought him back. He's coming back to the BBC, doing a new series in 2018. So that all sounds very exciting. That's on the 27th, you say? What time is that?
Yeah, that is on at 8 o'clock, I believe. No, 9 o'clock, BBC Two.
BBC Two. Just comes right after 1. What else we got coming up? A Christmas Carol Goes Wrong. Hugh? What's that?
Yeah, so I don't know if you guys watched Peter Pan Goes Wrong last year, but basically there's a bunch of plays in the West End by this group called the Mischief Theatre Company, which started with The Play That Goes Wrong, which is a kind of Agatha Christie-esque murder mystery that is a play within a play that starts to go very wrong, like the sets fall down, stuff catches on fire, everyone forgets their lines, that kind of thing. And they had huge success with that, and they've done a few spin-offs. And last year they did a Christmas version of one of their stage shows, which was Peter Pan Goes Wrong, and that was pretty popular. So now they've made a special just for TV. This is the first one that hasn't been on stage before. And the idea is that it's a big glossy production of A Christmas Carol starring Sir Derek Jacobi and Dame Diana Rigg, but the Cornley Polytechnic Drama Society, who they are in their world, is trying to take over, and it basically all starts going wrong.
Hilariously.
Hilarity.
With hilarity, yeah. We were chatting to the Mischief Theatre people. Apparently, it's Diana Rigg is a particular standout,
right?
As you might imagine from watching her in Game of Thrones.
She's just a general star, isn't she?
I think
she's
so.
Brilliant in everything she does.
Yeah, David Suchet was in it last year, but I think this year they've got a double whammy of thesps.
Jacobi and Riggs. When's that on?
That is on the 30th of December at 7:10 on BBC One.
Good. So that we've got a programme about a Christmas tree going from Liverpool to Bethlehem.
Yeah, so this was originally called Scousers in a Manger. They've just
Have they changed it?
They've changed the title to The World's Best Christmas Lights.
Oh,
I know. I like Scousers in a Manger.
That's rubbish.
Yeah,
that's a rubbish title.
So yeah, it doesn't really tell you
about the Scousers.
It makes
in
it
a
lot. It misses out some of the interest, I think. But it is about Scousers in a Manger because it's about a group of people from Liverpool who, for the last 5 years, have been going to Bethlehem to deck out Manger Square, which is the sort of the main square where supposedly where Jesus was
hanging out.
But yes, hanging out, but born.
Yeah.
And they sort of
subsequently hung out.
Yeah, and so you go back
That's what happens after you're born.
Yeah, he hung out in a manger, didn't he? Yes, that's right.
Mainly.
So they sort of work with some of their Palestinian counterparts there, and kind of to make the square, look fit for Christmas, basically. But it's also, there's a lot of sort of warmth and positivity around that, but also it's quite a, can be quite a dangerous area to be in. So there's kind of elements of that as well. So the camera crew are following them as they
so
do all that.
A one-off, is it? One-off.
It's a one-off. Yes.
One-off documentary on.
That is on the 23rd of December on Channel 4 at 8 p.m.
8 p.m. 23rd. Channel 4. It says here on my list, League of Gentlemen anniversary specials.
Yeah.
That sounds exciting.
It's a funny one because it's the anniversary of their original radio show, so it's 20 years since the League of Gentlemen existed in any form.
I think they're playing that game with Alan Partridge as well, to be honest.
But it's also
his broadcasting career.
Yeah.
I think it's not been on TV for about 12 years anyway, so it's sort of almost about half of its anniversary time. It hasn't actually been on air.
Yeah.
But yeah, so they're back. Mark Gatiss, Reece Shearsmith, and Steve Pemberton in 3 parts.
And Jeremy Dyson.
And Jeremy Dyson. I'm so sorry.
Don't forget him.
I would not. I would never. Why? I mean, I clearly demonstrably would, but
It's not very nice to just pick one out, is it?
No,
If it
no.
was 2 you forgot. That's all right.
so they're back in Royston Vasey. I think it carries on from the TV series rather than the film. I think they've ignored the events of the film.
Right, yeah.
Which got a bit meta.
And it's 3 episodes, isn't it? Across 3 consecutive nights, 18th, 19th and 20th of December, I believe.
And they're all...
I believe.
Yeah.
It is. It is.
And it's all at 10 p.m. on BBC Two.
And I think you've got a lot of the classic characters coming back. One guest appearance I heard of is Sian Gibson of Car Share fame, so she will be in it in some capacity. But yeah, it's. I think I've heard from big League of Gentlemen fans that it doesn't disappoint. So that's
good news, isn't it?
Yeah,
Because
definitely.
It's always tricky when you bring back something
Yeah.
that's so well loved and culty.
They turned it around quite quickly as well because they were only writing it a few months ago because we spoke to Mark Gatiss about it and they've turned it around and filmed it like that, like in a couple of months really.
Yeah.
So.
That's probably a good sign. It means things went
prob-
well.
Yeah.
They probably had a lot of ideas kicking around
All
in
up
the
there.
decade since it was
But
on.
ages
So.
to think of them, haven't they?
Well, that's what I'm thinking. You know.
Yeah. And finally on this list here, it says Upstart Crow.
Oh yeah, that's I'm
on
gonna.
the telly, isn't
Well, and one thing I know, it's more one for Hugh. I think he's watched more of it than I have. But one thing I do know, which is interesting, is that
Is it to do with Upstart Crow, the thing you know?
no, it's just one interesting thing. I know
It's
the
a fact.
one
It's
interesting
about
thing that
CQ
I happen
brothers.
to know. And yes, it is. I've told you before, haven't I? Yeah. No, but it's going to star Emma Thompson as Queen Elizabeth I, and I've seen
That's a coup.
some pictures.
It's a
Yeah,
big
absolutely.
name, isn't it?
Yeah, it is, and she's almost unrecognisable in the pictures that we've seen. Though, but she looks great.
Is she recognisable as Elizabeth, though?
Yes, very much so.
Well,
Very
that's
much
excellent.
so.
what you want, yeah.
That's what you want, really, if you're playing.
We should explain what Upstart Crow is to
Yeah,
people who may not know.
Upstart Crow is basically Blackadder, but if it was about Shakespeare. It's by Ben Elton, who did Blackadder, and it stars David Mitchell as Shakespeare, and it's kind of his sort of slightly less successful early years is kind of the idea. Although he's sort of every week he gets in some sort of issue that surprisingly reflects the plot of one of his later plays and tends to inspire him to write that play, and it's very funny. And it's got Gemma Whelan from Game of Thrones in it, and Harry Enfield's in it as his dad. And I can't remember what her name is, but the young actress from Raised by Wolves is his daughter, and she's very good.
No, I can't either.
Yeah, but she's really good. So it's a nice cast. It's very like Blackadder. So the fact that they now introduced Queen Elizabeth I is quite funny.
We did think that at one point they might bring Miranda Richardson back.
Yeah,
but
I think that would have been a crossover too far.
Yeah.
I don't think it's the same cinematic universe.
No.
That'd be confusing, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
So when's Upstart Crow on the television for the listeners and viewers at home?
It's actually Christmas Day itself.
Itself?
It's very self at 8:25 on BBC Two.
BBC Two, Christmas Day itself. Thank you very much.
Thanks.
And we continue our Christmas TV preview now. I'm now joined by Francis Taylor and Sarah Doran, who are going to talk through mainly entertainment formats now, aren't they?
Mm-hmm.
You've got the really fun stuff, the shiny floored action,
The best
the glitz and the glamour at
The
Christmas.
tinsel.
We've been through the drama and the disaster. Now we're at the fun.
Yeah, it's all glistening.
So, what are you looking forward to watching this Christmas on your list there, Francis?
I would say the Strictly Christmas special,
Strictly.
but I have already seen it. So, you know, I'm not looking forward to it as
I
such.
haven't,
I'm looking
no
forward to seeing it
spoilers,
again.
please.
Yeah, no spoilers. No, I'm really looking forward to that as well
Is it
as...
good, though? It's a good one, is it?
It is a good one,
Yeah, good.
yes. They
That's
do
good.
different thing every year, and this time it's getting 6 former celebrities back again. And it's not like a best of the best, it's not 6 winners, it's just
Six that were available.
Yeah, the 6 that are contractually able to appear. But we've got like Jeremy Vine, Robbie Savage, Judi Murray, Katie Derham, Kimberly Walsh and Colin Jackson
That's a
are all
good lineup.
returning. It's pretty good. Yes, and I do have to say one mini spoiler or preview treat is that the judges do something really quite unexpected and amusing. There you go.
Not a
That's
spoiler.
all.
I mean, that could be literally anything, couldn't it?
It could.
It's not
but
enough.
that's
Not enough
the
information
beauty
to be a
of
spoiler.
the vague spoiler.
But the Strictly Christmas special is always a nice family fun on Christmas Day, isn't it? It's just they don't take it too seriously. There's not really any point to it or prize even.
Much like life.
I think it's perfectly timed this year as well, because it's on at 6:30 on BBC One on Christmas Day, which means it'll just be after Jodie Whittaker's regeneration at the end of Doctor Who. So it's a nice kind of family viewing. It's something you can really sit down with and enjoy. And I just can't wait to see Judi Murray dance again. Absolutely love her.
I have to say, again, mini spoiler, she's actually a bit better than she
was.
was. I think she's been secret lessons, for the last few years. But no, she's really good.
So you've already told us when it's on, 6:30.
Yeah, 6:30.
So straight after
BBC
Doctor
One.
Who on BBC One, so you
Day.
can watch both of them in a row if you so choose. Another programme that's doing a Christmas special, the Bake Off, the Great British Bake Off, now on Channel 4.
Yes, and again, stepping into a bit of nostalgia, they've enlisted former bakers for 2 specials, which confusingly have different titles, or at least they did the last time I looked. So we've got the Great Christmas Bake Off and the Great Festive Bake Off, which is very confusing. Perhaps Channel 4 have changed this now.
They're both on Channel 4?
They're both on Channel 4. They've both got different bakers returning, and they're both completely separate episodes. But either way, I wonder if maybe it'll be looking forward to like New Year's Eve canapes or something. But anyway,
recipes with turkey pie.
Yeah, leftovers. Yeah, you never know. We've got Paul coming back. Paul and his lion loaf bread. Remember Paul. Becca, Lynn Perkis, Selassie and Val, they're all returning. They're big favourites.
All big favourites.
Yeah, Benjamina, Rob, who I don't remember. I think he was in a really early series 2. I'm sure we'll get to know Rob. Rav and also Sandy. So
love Rav.
Yeah, can't wait for that. And also, obviously, the same presenters. So Noel and Sandy are back, as well as Paul and Prue, which we're all very excited about.
And again, it's a kind of lighter weight version of the show, isn't it? Like Strictly, it's just a nice, warm,
just for fun.
fuzzy
less
just for
tension,
fun.
More kind of enjoyment. I mean, you still want to see who's going to win, but the stakes aren't as high, are they, at Christmas? It's quite nice that way.
Not like the stakes of the main Bake Off. No. Incredibly high. Bake Off theme kind of spin-off thing that's not the Bake Off, also on the schedules over on the BBC.
Yeah, Mary, Mel and Sue are getting back together. This is the first time we're going to see them, I think, properly on screen together, since we know Paul's gamble paid off because Bake Off's done just fine on Channel 4. And now we're kind of going to get a hint of whether Mary, Mel and Sue's gamble's paid off. I mean, Mary's fine. She's got nothing to worry about. I think Mel and Sue are fine as well. And they're doing...
It's not much of a gamble.
Not really much of a gamble, no. They're doing a big Christmas thank you. And this is on Christmas Eve. And they are going to go to a community in South Wales that's been through a bit of a tough time. They've built a community centre, and it's kind of the heart of everything that goes on where they are. And Mary, Mel and Sue are going to come down. Mary's going to make Christmas dinner, and Mel and Sue are going to throw kind of a big party, and they're going to do up the community centre to kind of make it last a little bit longer. So I think I've said it's a bit like DIY SOS.
And Challenge Annika for slightly older
GBBO,
members of the audience. So. That sounds nice.
I also think it's in contention for the clunkiest title of the year.
Mary, Mel and Sue's Big Christmas Thank You. It rolls off the tongue.
It does, along with the Big Family Cooking Showdown. I think those two are the probably worst titles.
I will say props to their title department though, because I think initially one of the working titles for this was like their Big Christmas Surprise, but whoever's managed to notice the rhyme between Mary, Mel and Sue and Big Christmas Thank You deserves a prize.
Do you know what? I didn't actually notice that, so all of their hard work has been useless for me.
Well, no, not now. It's out,
not now,
no. It's out there.
You are valued.
There's one other, I can see on my list here, one other food-related show that we're saying you should look out for. This is, again, three people involved. It doesn't seem
three
like
random people.
You would never have put together, really.
At least three people anymore.
This is very strange. And it's also, it's just before Christmas, 21st of December, this is going to be on at 9 o'clock on ITV.
But what is it?
I was just coming on to that, give me a chance. Right, again, big title.
Drum roll.
Gordon, Gino and Fred's Christmas Roast. Now, the Gordon, Gino and Fred in this are Gordon Ramsay Gino DeCampo, and Fred Siriu. I can never remember.
Oh, from First Dates.
From First Dates.
And Service, for those who remember that show.
No one. That's just you. Moving
Michelle
on.
Michelle Reed Jr. was training people to become silver service waiters, and he was the maitre d' in it. It was his first major screen role, as far as I'm... Anyway, let's move on.
Well, it's the story of Fred. So it's a bit odd, this, I have to say. I think it's going to be slightly interesting. It's over an hour. It's 75 minutes, but it's Gordon and Gino going head to head to create the best festive menu to sort of say thank you, like Mary Melonsue, to say thank you to people who worked in the emergency services and survivors of Grenfell Tower. It's very serious. But what's a bit strange is that there's a competitive element. So Gordon and Gino are either going to win this thing, and yet it's meant to be doing something really lovely and heartwarming. It reminds me
a bit like the Great British Menu when they cook for specific feasts, like for war veterans and stuff like that. Yeah. This whole competition, and it's these like people who've done an amazing thing, just sitting down to have a meal, and you're like, why did you fight to decide who'd serve?
It's basically
people?
that. Yeah.
And what's Fred do then? Is he the referee? He's the judge?
Yeah, he's just providing the wine. Yeah, why not? And being his general maitre d'-ing.
So when was that on again?
21st of December, 9 o'clock.
What channel?
On ITV.
ITV.
Yeah. But they're going to be... there's a little VT that they're going to film as well of the three of them going to France to find some wine for this feast as well. Nice. So the three of them in a car. I'm sure there will be no swear words.
Hijinks. Yeah. There is one other food or drink related show I've just noticed. Joanna and Jennifer... Absolutely Shampers.
This
really does sound like something, doesn't it?
This is actually going head to head with Gordon, Gino and Fred, because it's on Thursday the 21st also at 9 p.m. on BBC Two. Yeah.
Split the audience.
So if you're
competitive scheduling.
If you're looking for Joanna and Jennifer Absolutely Shampers to be quite like absolutely fabulous, because it is Joanna Lumley and Jennifer Saunders, you're apparently going to be disappointed because they're going as Joanna and Jennifer. They're not going as Eddie and Patsy. But Eddie and Patsy loved champagne, so Joanna and Jennifer are going to the Champagne region to look at where that champagne comes from.
Seamless segue. Seamless segue.
It's like when Matthew Reese...
For no apparent reason, they're just doing that.
Yeah, it's like the wine show that Matthew Good and Matthew Reese did a couple of years ago, where they just went around touring and drinking some nice wine.
And it has to be called Absolutely Shampers as well.
Absolutely Shampers.
But it has no connection to those characters.
It's nice work if you can get it, though.
Yeah.
I mean, good on them. But apparently as well, they've said that they're going to dig deep and uncover things they never knew about each other. So I think we'll get an insight into their relationship as well.
Whilst getting champagne.
And while they do say this is not going to be Eddie and Patsy, I'd be really surprised if it doesn't come up at some point.
They're going to slip into character at some point, even for just 2 seconds.
I think putting the word absolutely in is a clue, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's a clue. Mrs. Brown's Boys has become a real Christmas favourite now, hasn't it?
Yeah. I mean, am I going to have to explain my nation?
Not at all, Sarah. I'm looking at you, just your resident Mrs. Brown's Boys expert.
So
it's one of the most watched shows at Christmas.
And it's going to be really big this year as well, because earlier this year, one of the cast members, Rory Cowan, stepped down from his role as Mrs. Brown's boy, Rory, so one of her sons. And there's been a lot of talk about how they're going to replace Rory. Are they going to write him out? Are they going to bring in a new character? And what they've decided to do is they're running a plastic surgery storyline. So I'm not going to give too much away because we're not allowed. But in the episode, it's titled Mammy's Mummy. There is somebody with bandages around their head. And we're going to have the reveal by the end of the episode who is the new Rory. So they have written a new one in. And I mean, you're right though, this show has been such a phenomenon. It gets 2 Christmas specials every year. This year is no different. The first one with the big reveal is on Christmas Day on BBC One at 10 p.m. And then we kind of kick into a more kind of relaxed Mrs. Brown's kind of run-of-the-mill episode on the 1st of January at 10 p.m. as well. And you know what? I mean, you can't beat it. It still tops the schedules every year. And I think it's going to keep going for another while to come. I mean, I've watched this episode and it's more of the same, but more of the same is what works with Mrs. Brown. So
it's arguably one of the marmitiest shows on TV.
Completely.
It's just people are either absolutely obsessed with it, they can quote it all and they absolutely love it, or people detest it and cannot understand it at all. So it's it's interesting though. It is consistently the biggest comedy on the BBC.
People love it.
Yeah.
I agree. They're not going to stop making a show that's that popular, are you?
No.
When we were talking about Absolutely Shampers, I forgot to mention there is a French and Saunders 300 years of French and Saunders show on.
Which I keep thinking is a typo. Every time I see this, I think they've got it wrong.
I think it's a joke. Is it a joke?
It's a joke. Yeah. I don't have a sense of humour, so I find it very difficult to understand that. Yeah, 300 years.
So what's that then?
Well, they've actually filmed some new material, which I haven't seen yet, and I do think it could go either way, because obviously one of the biggest and best comedy duos in this country, absolutely. But some of the material they have done, especially in more recent years, shall we say, has not been as good, perhaps, as the more vintage French and Saunders.
I thought their comic relief spoof, they did a kind of carpool karaoke spoof. I didn't think it was quite as good. It wasn't up there with their Mamma Mia's and their, you know, Titanics and their Shakespeare's Sister of old. Some of those great sequences they filmed. But one of the new things they have filmed for this Christmas special is a Handmaid's Tale parody.
Right.
And considering how well the Handmaid's Tale has gone down this year and how good they have been as that kind of duo on this kind of thing, I can just see Dawn French in the outfit just making me crack up just by wearing it in the first place. So my hopes are high that this will deliver.
It's always scary though, isn't it, when you've got hopes high? Because I know I completely agree with you. You're really willing it to be good, and fingers crossed it will pay off. I mean, they've scheduled it for Christmas Day, 10:35 p.m. Really plum slot, obviously, for those two.
What channel?
BBC One.
Yeah.
Obviously. Where else? Where else?
Well, indeed. Just checking.
It's good to be thorough. It's good to be thorough.
You don't want them to be tuned into the wrong channel, do you? Missing it.
No.
So that's 300 years of French and Saunders, and finally we've got another returning favourite, Miranda. Miranda, not the Miranda sitcom, but Miranda Does Christmas.
Yes.
What's that? I can guess, but.
Yes,
it's something to do with Christmas.
Explain what it is.
Guess.
It's actually been 3 years, which I can't believe, since we've had Miranda at Christmas. But what's so funny as well is that she's on Channel 4 now instead of the BBC. So I don't know if we can expect a little bit more risque, perhaps, a little more interesting, near the knuckle material.
It feels like this one will be a bit more like, you know, Christmas with Alan Carr style kind of thing. You know, when you think of those Chatty Man Christmas specials.
So what is
like
this? This is
more of a chat show.
A chat show, entertainment format.
Yeah, so it's kind of, she'll be sitting down having some chat. I think there's going to be some skits kind of thrown in as well. Very kind of Miranda. Such fun. Throughout.
They are having the old characters pop up as well, I think, like Gary and her mum, I think, are going to be making cameo appearances as well. So it's very Miranda heavy.
Nods in that direction. And that's on Channel 4.
Yes.
And do we know any of the guests? Are there guests? Are there any famous people, or is it just her and... We don't know at this stage.
I think we don't have the full information on it at this stage. But she's been busy because she's been doing the Royal Variety and everything. So Miranda's been kind of bopping back around this Christmas. Who knows?
Well, that sounds like it might be worth tuning in for. When's that on? Channel 4?
It is Wednesday, 27th of December.
So it's after
9
Christmas.
o'clock.
Just after.
Christmas. So you watch that.
Miranda Does Christmas late.
Yeah.
Should be the title.
Yeah.
If Channel 4 want any notes.
Miranda,
they're probably fine.
Miranda enjoys the post-Christmas lull.
Yeah.
Okay, well, that's pretty much all the TV that's on this Christmas. Next week we'll be talking on demand. But also, before we go... you had a question for me, didn't you,
Tim,
Sarah?
I want to know, what films are on TV this Christmas?
Thanks for asking, Sarah. Well, there's actually there's lots of films on, and a lot of people's favourite part of Christmas is sitting down to a film with the family. So I'll just talk you through some of them, shall I?
Yes, that's great.
BBC One, I've got Cinderella.
That's the Lily James one, isn't it?
The Lily James one. Ken Branagh, I think, directs that one. Frozen. Like that?
Classic,
yeah. Toy Story 3, which in my opinion is probably the best Toy Story.
I think that's the one that has made most people I know who grew up with Toy Story absolutely bawl their eyes out at the end of Toy Story 3.
That bit in the furnace is amazing. Big Hero 6, which is another animation.
I haven't heard of Big Hero 1 to 5.
I don't think there were. I think they went straight in with 6.
It was a little Disney. It was a bit of a Disney phenomenon, I think, the year it came out, and it was quite popular.
No, it's good. Cool Runnings, which is one of the greatest films ever made, and you can learn every lesson you need to learn about life from that film.
Amazing.
There's an hour and a half of genius. Monsters University, which I very much enjoy, which is the sequel to Monsters Inc. Gone Girl.
Not one for the family.
Up, which is another Disney Pixar, so there's plenty on BBC One for the youngsters. We've got Avengers, Age of Ultron, Penguins of Madagascar, another family one there, Shrek 2, Shrek 3, Kung Fu Panda, How to Train Your Dragon 2, not one, Brave, which is another Disney Pixar. They've got a lot of them. And Shrek Forever After, which, is that the fourth one?
I think I went through all the Shreks.
It looks like they've shown pretty much all the Shreks.
It's like when ITV usually show all the Harry Potters.
They're doing that.
Are they doing it again?
Yeah, I'm just looking at the list here.
Tell me more, Tim.
ITV are doing all the Harry Potter films. Starts on the 23rd of December. So you start on the 23rd with...
Get up to the 31st with Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone.
And you'll end on another day...
With Deathly Hallows, Part 2.
You can put them in your calendar.
I presume it's possibly New Year's Eve.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't got the full calendar here, and I couldn't do that sort of mental arithmetic. No, not under this. Not under this sort of pressure. No. ITV, of course, their big one, Jurassic World, which is I believe which is shown on Boxing Day, and they're also they've got James Bond, they've got Despicable Me 2. and Hobbit, Battle of the Five Armies. A couple of others to look out for. Channel 4 got The Wolverine, Gladiator, About a Boy, and Home Alone. People like Home Alone, don't they? Not Home Alone 2 starring Donald Trump, Home Alone 1. And BBC 2 have got Bill, not The Bill, sadly not bringing that back, Noah, The Great Gatsby, Alan Partridge Alpha Papa, and Into the Woods. So that's just a whistle-stop tour through just some, just some. Well, you know, they speak for themselves. I like to think these films.
True.
That's just some of the films that you can enjoy this Christmas on terrestrial TV, as we still call it. Next week we'll be talking about some of the best things you can watch on demand this Christmas. But for now, it's goodbye from us.